Time to talk about the 1976 horror film The Town That Dreaded Sundown. It's a murder suspense film based on the real life murders in the spring of 1946 on the borders of Texas and Arkansas, Texarkana. And I'm not a aficionado of the murder case. I only know barely of it, so you might have to refer to other people. I've only researched it a few different times. This was my second time seeing it. This is a film, it's kind of rare, 76, and it has true slasher stalker elements like Halloween and Friday the 13th. Because then there's other films in the early 70s that can be considered slashers, but they don't have the stalk and slash elements of the killer POV, and this really does. But the real killer in real life, like I said, unsolved. He got away with it, never identified. I forgot how many. I think he killed like 5 or 7 people or something. Like I said, I'm not an expert. And what he would do is they called them the moonlight murders because after dusk he would go out in the countryside and for the most part shoot his victims with a handgun. And that's pretty much what you see in this. And they have Ben Johnson as like the lead sheriff. It has like a total in the heat of the night diagnosis murder, 70s, early 80s like cop drama feel throughout. And they don't catch up to anything, of course, because the murder's unsolved. And then at times it feels like a western. And then there's like these, so it's like the southern cops like going through delations and talking about a whole bunch of nothing. Like always like 5 steps behind. Kind of like that movie The Zodiac. And in fact, the Zodiac was a similar kind of villain. He had the bag over the head type of mask. And you're probably looking at this mask, and everyone knows that it's really similar to and it inspired I don't know if it officially inspired Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason's mask from it, but it's most likely that it did. I haven't seen special features for Friday the 13th Part 2, so I don't know the origins of that mask, but obviously this came out 5 years before that film. And that's how the killer was described, if I'm not mistaken. And this is a picture of the Zodiac killer from the late 60s in San Francisco. Except for this killer was a lot more... He had a lot more erudition on his resume. Let's just say that. Considering he has 4 puzzles that he sent in and 3 of them went unsolved. So he's probably a genius. He's never been caught. But as for this, what do they say about the real Texarkana killer? They say that he's a sadist with the sex drive. And they think he's real shrewd. And possibly not even a resident of Texarkana, even though he was killing all around the countryside and the outskirts of it. Seems kind of interesting. And they thought he was in his 30s to 40s. And the interesting thing also is that they're supposed to be... You might have heard about this. Well, now you've heard about it now that they're making a remake of this. And Jason Blum is producing it, so it's going to be kind of low budget. And what they're doing is they're setting it in modern time in Texarkana, supposedly. And what they're doing is the killer is making a comeback in 2013. Like 70 years later or whatever. Almost 70 years later. And they thought the killer was in his 30s or 40s, so he'd be like 100. So apparently it's someone like recreating the events. The Phantom Killer is basically coming back. Who the heck knows? There's also this one scene where like he stabs this bitch with a trombone and a knife at the end of it just to like make it more graphic and more interesting, because most of the film is just so boring with absolutely nothing going on, just him like stalking in the dark, terrible lighting. R.I.P. Myers knows the deal. And then it's like a total chase scene ending, like a Western movie. Alright, I'm completely done. This is like a C minus overall. Great for its time, 1976. So anyway, this was JBM from the October 2013 horror movie marathon. I appreciate you watching, and I'm out.